Have you ever wondered why some people seem to glow with contentment in their golden years, while others struggle with emptiness and regret? The difference isn't luck, good genes, or even perfect health. It's something far simpler and more powerful than you might imagine. What if I told you that happiness after 60 isn't an accident? It's a daily choice made through small but powerful habits that anyone can adopt. The secret lies not in grand gestures or life-changing events, but in the quiet consistency of daily practices that keep your spirit alive. Today, you're going to discover exactly what those practices are and how they can transform your ordinary days into something extraordinary. You'll learn from real people who've cracked the code on joyful aging, and by the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap for creating your own radiant tomorrow. Too many of us enter our later years believing that our best days are behind us, that contentment is reserved for the young, or that aging means settling for less joy. We watch the calendar pages turn and feel a creeping sense that life is happening to us rather than through us. Society whispers that after a certain age, we should slow down, step back, and make room for the next generation. But what if everything we've been told about aging and happiness is wrong? What if your most fulfilling chapter is still waiting to be written? The truth is that many people discover their deepest sense of purpose and joy only after they've lived long enough to understand what truly matters. The seniors who radiate genuine happiness don't possess any magical secrets or extraordinary circumstances. They haven't won the lottery or discovered the fountain of youth. Instead, they've learned something profound about the nature of daily living. They understand that happiness is not a destination you arrive at, but a practice you cultivate one day at a time. These individuals have discovered that the key to thriving in your golden years lies in establishing simple, meaningful routines that honor both your past wisdom and your future potential. They've learned to see each day not as something to get through, but as an opportunity to engage with life in ways that bring genuine satisfaction. Their secret weapon is the power of intentional daily habits that keep them connected, growing, and contributing. What makes these happy seniors different isn't their circumstances, it's their daily choices. While others might spend their days worrying about what they've lost or what they can no longer do, truly content seniors focus on what they can create, contribute, and discover. They've mastered the art of finding meaning in the present moment while staying curious about tomorrow. Their days are anchored by practices that nurture their bodies, minds, and spirits in equal measure. They understand that staying engaged with life requires intention, not just good intentions. These individuals have discovered that the antidote to aging's challenges isn't to fight against time, but to make each day count in ways that align with their deepest values. Throughout this video, you'll meet three remarkable individuals whose stories will show you exactly how this transformation happens. Each of them has found their own unique path to daily joy and fulfillment, and their experiences will illuminate practical steps you can take starting today. You'll discover specific habits that can be adapted to fit your own life, circumstances, and interests. More importantly, you'll see how small, consistent actions compound over time to create a life of genuine contentment and purpose. By the end of our time together, you'll understand why happiness in your later years isn't just possible. It's your birthright when you know how to claim it. To illustrate this, let me tell you a story about three people who discovered that their golden years could truly shine. In a quiet community library, where afternoon sunlight streams through tall windows and the scent of well-loved books fills the air, something magical happens every weekday morning. Children gather in a colorful corner, their eyes bright with anticipation, waiting for a special visitor who has become the highlight of their week. The woman they're waiting for is Lydia, 72 years old, a retired school librarian who has found a way to make every single day meaningful and joyful. Her silver hair catches the light as she settles into the reading chair, and her warm smile immediately puts the children at ease. What these young listeners don't know is that Lydia's presence here represents far more than volunteer work. It's one of the daily practices that has transformed her retirement from a time of loss into a period of unexpected fulfillment. If you're finding value in this message about creating joy in your golden years, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more wisdom on living your best life at any age. Lydia had never expected retirement to feel so empty when she first left her position at the elementary school 3 years ago. After decades of being surrounded by books, lesson plans, and the constant energy of young minds, her house suddenly felt too quiet and her days too long. She found herself waking up without purpose, wandering through rooms that echoed with memories of a busier time. The silence was deafening, and for the first time in her adult life, she questioned her value and place in the world. Many of her former colleagues had warned her about this adjustment period, but nothing had prepared her for the profound sense of loss that came with stepping away from a career that had defined her for so long. She tried filling her time with television shows and crossword puzzles, but these activities left her feeling more hollow than fulfilled. The turning point came on a Tuesday morning when Lydia decided to visit her old school library just to see how things were going. As she walked through the familiar corridors, she heard the sound of children's laughter coming from the reading corner where she used to conduct story time. The current librarian, a young woman named Sarah, was struggling to manage a group of particularly energetic kindergartners who seemed more interested in chatting with each other than listening to the book. Lydia watched from the doorway as Sarah's voice grew strained, trying to capture their attention, and she felt a familiar stirring in her chest, the same feeling she used to get when she knew exactly how to reach a distracted child. Without overthinking it, Lydia stepped forward and gently asked Sarah if she could help. Sarah's relief was immediate and obvious, and within minutes, Lydia had settled into the old reading chair that felt like coming home. Her voice took on the special cadence she had perfected over years of captivating young audiences, and something magical happened. The restless children grew quiet, their eyes fixed on her face as she brought the characters to life with different voices and animated expressions. When the story ended, little hands shot up with questions and comments, and Lydia felt a warmth spread through her chest that she hadn't experienced since retirement began. Sarah approached her afterward with tears in her eyes, explaining how difficult it had been to manage story time alone while handling all her other library duties. She asked if Lydia might consider volunteering on a regular basis, and Lydia's answer was an immediate yes. That simple conversation changed everything. Suddenly, Lydia had something to look forward to each morning, a reason to set her alarm clock, and a purpose that felt both familiar and fresh. The children began to recognize her car in the parking lot and would wave excitedly when they saw her coming. Parents started thanking her for making their children excited about books and reading. Most importantly, Lydia rediscovered a part of herself that she thought had been lost forever. This newfound connection with the younger generation became Lydia's first daily habit, engaging in intergenerational activities that keep her linked to the energy and curiosity of youth. Every weekday morning, she arrives at the library with carefully selected books and a heart full of anticipation. The children have taught her about new technologies, current playground games, and the fresh perspectives that only come from minds unencumbered by years of experience. In return, she shares timeless stories, gentle wisdom, and the patient attention that seems increasingly rare in their fast-paced world. This exchange has reminded Lydia that wisdom flows both ways across generations, and that her years of experience are not a burden, but a gift that younger people genuinely value and need. But Lydia's transformation didn't stop with her volunteer work at the library. As her confidence began to return through her interactions with the children, she started remembering other dreams she had set aside during her busy working years. One afternoon, while walking past a music store, she stopped to admire an old upright piano in the window. The sight triggered a flood of memories from her childhood when she had begged her parents for piano lessons that they couldn't afford. She had always told herself that someday she would learn to play, but somehow, someday, had never arrived during her career-focused decades. Standing there on the sidewalk, Lydia made a decision that surprised even her. She walked into the store and inquired about purchasing the piano. The salesman was kind and patient as she explained her situation, and within a week, the instrument was sitting in her living room, waiting for her to fulfill a lifelong dream. She found a piano teacher who specialized in adult beginners, and despite her initial embarrassment about being the oldest student, she committed to weekly lessons and daily practice. Her fingers felt clumsy at first, and the simple melodies seemed impossible to coordinate, but something deep inside her responded to the challenge with excitement rather than frustration. This pursuit of learning piano became Lydia's second daily habit, pursuing a new personal skill that challenges her mind and feeds her soul. Every afternoon, after returning from the library, she sits at the piano bench and dedicates herself to practice. Some days the music flows more easily than others, but each session brings small victories that compound over time. She has learned to celebrate the moment when her fingers finally find the right keys without hesitation, and she treasures the growing repertoire of simple songs she can now play from memory. The piano has become more than an instrument. It's a symbol of her commitment to growth and a daily reminder that it's never too late to become the person she always dreamed of being. Learning piano has also introduced Lydia to a community of adult learners who gather monthly for informal recitals at the music store. These sessions have shown her that she's not alone in pursuing new challenges later in life, and the encouragement she receives from fellow students has bolstered her confidence in ways she never expected. The fear of making mistakes has given way to the joy of making music, and the discipline required for daily practice has added structure and purpose to her afternoons. Most importantly, this new skill has proven to herself that her mind is still capable of absorbing complex information and developing new neural pathways, challenging any limiting beliefs she might have held about aging and learning. As Lydia's days became more structured and purposeful, she discovered the need for a practice that would help her process and appreciate the positive changes in her life. This realization led to her third daily habit, reflection through gratitude journaling. Each evening before bed, she sits at her kitchen table with a simple notebook and records 3 things from her day that brought her joy, satisfaction, or insight. Sometimes she writes about a child's particularly insightful question during story time, or the moment when she successfully played a challenging passage on the piano. Other times, she captures smaller moments, the way morning sunlight fell across her breakfast table, or the kindness of a stranger who held the door at the grocery store. This practice of gratitude journaling has transformed how Lydia experiences her days. Instead of letting positive moments pass by unnoticed, she finds herself paying attention to the small gifts that each day offers. The act of writing them down reinforces their importance and creates a permanent record of joy that she can revisit. During more difficult times, when she feels frustrated with a particularly challenging piano piece or worried about changes in her health, she can flip through the pages of her journal and remind herself of all the reasons she has to feel grateful. And content. The journal has also helped Lydia recognize patterns in what brings her the most satisfaction. She has noticed that her happiest days are those when she feels most connected to others, most challenged by learning, and most aware of the beauty around her. This awareness has allowed her to be more intentional about creating conditions for happiness rather than waiting for it to happen by chance. The simple act of reflection has given her agency over her emotional well-being and helped her understand that contentment is not a passive state, but an active choice. Lydia's story demonstrates how 3 simple daily habits can transform retirement from a time of loss into a period of unexpected growth and fulfillment. Her commitment to engaging with younger generations through volunteer work keeps her connected to the energy and optimism of youth, while allowing her to share her accumulated wisdom. Her dedication to learning piano proves that new skills and creative expression remain possible at any age, and that the discipline of practice can bring structure and purpose to previously empty hours. Her gratitude journaling practice ensures that she notices and appreciates the positive changes in her life, while maintaining perspective during challenging moments. What makes Lydia's transformation so powerful is not the specific activities she chose, but the underlying principles they represent. She found ways to stay connected to others, to challenge herself mentally and creatively, and to maintain awareness of life's ongoing gifts. These habits work together to create a daily rhythm that honors both her past experience and her future potential. They demonstrate that happiness in later life is not about recapturing youth, but about discovering new ways to engage with the world that align with your accumulated wisdom and evolving interests. The beauty of Lydia's approach is its accessibility and adaptability. Not everyone needs to volunteer at a library or learn piano to experience similar transformation. The key is identifying activities that fulfill the same essential functions, connecting with others across generations, pursuing growth and learning, and maintaining gratitude for life's ongoing gifts. Her story shows us that retirement can be a time of renaissance rather than retreat, and that the habits we choose to cultivate each day have the power to reshape our entire experience of aging. Please subscribe to our channel to discover more inspiring stories and practical wisdom for creating your most fulfilling years yet. While Lydia found her path to fulfillment through nurturing young minds and creative expression, not everyone's journey toward happiness in their golden years follows the same route. To help you see this more clearly, I want to tell you another story that captures a completely different but equally powerful approach to aging with purpose. Enjoy. This story takes us to a different kind of sanctuary, where the wisdom of working with your hands meets the peace that comes from serving others and caring for your own well-being. Franklin had spent 42 years as an auto mechanic, his days filled with the familiar sounds of engines, the satisfying click of tools finding their proper place, and the gratification that came from solving mechanical puzzles that left other people scratching their heads. His hands were permanently stained with traces of his trade, and his back carried the accumulated ache of decades spent bent over car engines. When his retirement day finally arrived, Franklin felt a mixture of relief and uncertainty that he hadn't expected. The relief came from no longer having to crawl under vehicles or strain to reach difficult bolts, but the uncertainty came from wondering what he would do with hands that had always been busy and a mind that thrived on solving practical problems. For the first few months of retirement, Franklin tried to fill his time with the activities that everyone suggested: watching television, reading novels, and taking leisurely walks around his neighborhood. But something essential was missing from these passive pursuits. His hands felt restless without tools to hold, and his problem-solving mind grew sluggish without challenges to overcome. He found himself visiting the auto shop where he used to work, not because he missed the stress or the physical demands, but because he missed the sense of purpose that came from fixing things that were broken and helping people solve their transportation problems. The answer to Franklin's restlessness came from an unexpected source: a small community garden tucked behind the local community center that he had walked past countless times without really noticing. One morning, curiosity led him through the garden's gate, where he discovered a dozen small plots tended by neighbors of various ages. The garden coordinator, a woman named Maria, was struggling to manage several neglected plots whose previous tenders had moved away or lost interest. She explained that the waiting list for garden space was long, but they desperately needed someone reliable to help maintain the unused areas until new gardeners could be found. Franklin found himself volunteering on the spot, drawn by the familiar appeal of working with his hands and the practical challenge of nurturing something from seed to harvest. What he didn't expect was how quickly this simple commitment would transform his entire approach to retirement. Within weeks, he had claimed a small plot of his own and begun the daily ritual that would become the foundation of his new life structure. Every morning, just as the sun began to warm the earth, Franklin would arrive at the garden with his coffee in a thermos and his tools in a weathered canvas bag that had once carried automotive equipment. This daily connection with the soil became Franklin's first essential habit, maintaining a connection with nature that grounds him in the present moment and connects him to the eternal cycles of growth and renewal. Working in the garden requires the same attention to detail and problem-solving skills that made him an excellent mechanic. But instead of fixing machines, he's nurturing life. He has learned to read the subtle signs that indicate when plants need water, when soil requires nutrients, and when pests threaten his carefully tended crops. The work keeps his hands busy and his mind engaged while providing the physical activity that his body craves after decades of active labor. The garden has taught Franklin lessons that extend far beyond horticulture. He has discovered that plants, like people, respond to consistent care and attention, and that the most dramatic growth often happens slowly and quietly, invisible from day to day, but undeniable over time. The patience required for gardening has helped him develop a more peaceful relationship with time itself, replacing the urgency of his working years with a deeper appreciation for natural rhythms and seasonal changes. Most importantly, the garden has given him a sense of stewardship and responsibility that makes each day feel purposeful and necessary. As Franklin's garden began producing more vegetables than he could possibly consume, he faced a decision that would lead to his second daily habit. Rather than letting the surplus go to waste, he began researching local organizations that could benefit from fresh produce donations. This search led him to a community food cooperative that distributed groceries to families facing food insecurity. The coordinators were thrilled to receive his offerings of tomatoes, peppers, and leafy greens, and they quickly invited him to become more involved in their mission. What started as simple donations evolved into Franklin's second daily practice, serving others through community work that addresses real needs in meaningful ways. After his morning gardening routine, Franklin loads his harvest into the truck he used to drive to work sites and delivers fresh vegetables to the food cooperative. But his involvement doesn't stop with donations. He has become a regular volunteer at the weekly distribution events, helping families select groceries and sharing growing tips with those interested in starting their own gardens. This work has connected him to a network of community members who share his values of service and mutual support. Through his volunteer work, Franklin has discovered that retirement doesn't have to mean withdrawal from useful contribution to society. His skills and experience remain valuable, but in different contexts than he originally imagined. The organizational abilities he developed managing auto repair schedules now help him coordinate volunteer shifts at the food cooperative. The customer service skills he honed explaining car problems to worried vehicle owners now serve him well. When he helps nervous first-time food cooperative visitors navigate the distribution process, most importantly, his natural inclination to help people solve practical problems has found a new outlet that feels both familiar and fresh. The relationships Franklin has built through his community service work have enriched his social life in unexpected ways. He has formed friendships with fellow volunteers who share his commitment to helping others, and these connections have introduced him to additional opportunities for service and fellowship. The families who regularly receive his vegetables have become familiar faces who inquire about his health and share updates about their own lives. This web of relationships has replaced the casual social connections he lost when he retired from the auto shop, providing him with a sense of belonging and mutual care that extends far beyond his immediate family. As important as Franklin's connections to the earth and his community have become, he has also discovered the necessity of caring for his own physical and mental well-being as the foundation for everything else he wants to accomplish. This realization led to his third daily practice, moving his body mindfully through Tai Chi, a discipline that combines physical exercise with mental focus and spiritual centering. Franklin had always been skeptical of activities that seemed too abstract or philosophical, but his introduction to Tai Chi came through a practical concern about maintaining his balance and flexibility as he aged. The Tai Chi classes offered at the community center attracted his attention because the instructor emphasized the practical benefits of the practice: improved balance, better joint mobility, and reduced stress. Franklin approached his first class with the same methodical mindset he had always brought to learning new mechanical procedures. He studied the movements carefully, practiced diligently, and gradually began to understand the subtle principles underlying what initially appeared to be slow-motion dancing. What surprised him was how quickly the practice began to affect not just his physical condition, but his mental state and overall approach to daily challenges. Franklin's Tai Chi practice takes place each morning in the quiet corner of the community garden, just as the sun is rising and before other gardeners arrive. This timing allows him to combine his love of nature with his commitment to physical wellness, creating a seamless transition from meditative movement to productive garden work. The slow, flowing movements help him identify areas of tension or stiffness in his body, and the focused breathing required by the practice clears his mind for the day ahead. Most importantly, the philosophy underlying Tai Chi has taught him valuable lessons about balance, patience, and the power of gentle persistence that apply to all areas of his life. The mental benefits of Franklin's Tai Chi practice have been as significant as the physical improvements. The discipline required to master the precise movements has strengthened his ability to concentrate and focus, skills that enhance both his gardening work and his volunteer activities. The emphasis on mindful breathing has given him tools for managing stress and maintaining emotional equilibrium during challenging situations. Perhaps most valuable of all, the Tai Chi principle of using minimal effort to achieve maximum effect has helped him approach problems with greater efficiency and less frustration than he experienced during his more intense working years. Franklin's 3 daily habits work together to create a lifestyle that honors his need for physical activity, meaningful work, and service to others, while maintaining his connection to the natural world that sustains and inspires him. His morning Tai Chi practice prepares his body and mind for the day ahead. His gardening work satisfies his need for productive labor and connection to natural cycles, and his volunteer service at the food cooperative provides opportunities for community engagement and practical assistance to those in need. These activities fulfill different aspects of his personality and values while creating a daily rhythm that feels both structured and flexible. What makes Franklin's approach so effective is how each habit reinforces and supports the others. His physical Tai Chi practice gives him the strength and flexibility needed for garden work, while his gardening provides the produce that makes his community service possible. His volunteer work connects him to people who appreciate his contributions, which motivates him to maintain his garden and his physical conditioning. This interconnected approach to daily habits creates a sustainable lifestyle that addresses multiple dimensions of well-being simultaneously. Franklin's story demonstrates that meaningful retirement doesn't require dramatic reinvention or the pursuit of entirely new interests. Instead, it can grow from the same values and skills that provided satisfaction during working years, applied in new contexts that serve both personal fulfillment and community benefit. His transition from fixing cars to growing vegetables represents continuity rather than complete change, showing how core strengths can be adapted to new circumstances and opportunities. The key is recognizing that the need for purpose, physical activity, and social connection doesn't diminish with age, but simply requires new outlets and expressions. Subscribe to our channel if you want more inspiring stories and practical guidance for creating your most meaningful and joyful years ahead. While both Lydia and Franklin found fulfillment through activities rooted in their local communities, there's another path to happiness in later life that might seem surprising to those who believe that aging means shrinking your world and limiting your adventures. Let me share another story that shows what I mean, one that demonstrates how stepping boldly beyond your comfort zone can lead to discoveries about yourself that you never imagined possible. June had spent most of her 75 years as what she would have called a homebody. Throughout her marriage of 48 years, she had been content to let her husband Harold handle all the travel planning for their rare vacations, which usually consisted of visiting relatives or taking short trips to familiar destinations within driving distance of their home. Harold had been the adventurous one, always talking about places he wanted to visit and trips he hoped to take someday, while June preferred the comfort and predictability of her own kitchen, her own bed, and her established routines. When Harold passed away 2 years ago, June assumed that whatever small window for adventure they might have had was now permanently closed. The months following Harold's death were filled with the expected grief and adjustment. But what surprised June was the profound sense of regret that began to emerge as she sorted through his belongings. She found notebooks filled with his handwritten lists of destinations he wanted to explore, brochures for tours he had collected but never booked, and maps marked with routes for road trips that would never happen. As she held these remnants of his unfulfilled dreams, June realized that she had spent decades saying no to adventures, not because she truly didn't want them, but because she was afraid of the unknown and uncomfortable with anything that disrupted her sense of control and security. This realization created an unexpected turning point in June's grief process. Instead of allowing regret to compound her sorrow, she made a decision that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. She decided to honor Harold's memory and challenge her own limiting beliefs by pursuing the travel experiences they had never shared. The first step was admitting that she had no idea how to plan a trip, book accommodations, or navigate unfamiliar places on her own. The second step was deciding that these obstacles were problems to be solved rather than insurmountable barriers to her dreams. June's transformation began with her commitment to regularly planning and anticipating new experiences, which became her first daily habit. Instead of letting each day drift by without structure or purpose, she began dedicating her morning coffee time to researching destinations, reading travel blogs, and studying maps of places she had never seen. This planning process rekindled a sense of curiosity and excitement that she hadn't felt in years. She discovered that the anticipation of adventure could be almost as rewarding as the adventure itself, and that the act of planning gave her days a sense of direction and purpose that had been missing since Harold's death. What started as tentative research into nearby attractions evolved into ambitious plans for destinations she had only seen in magazines or travel documentaries. June spent hours learning about different cultures, climates, and customs, expanding her knowledge of the world in ways that made her feel more connected to the broader human experience. She began keeping a travel journal where she recorded interesting facts about potential destinations, created itineraries for dream trips, and tracked her growing confidence in her ability to navigate complex travel logistics. This daily planning ritual became a source of hope and excitement that helped her transition from mourning what was lost to anticipating what might still be possible. The planning process also taught June valuable lessons about the difference between responsible preparation and paralyzing perfectionism. She learned to research enough to feel confident about major decisions while remaining flexible about details that could be figured out along the way. This balance between preparation and spontaneity became a metaphor for her new approach to life in general, helping her become more comfortable with uncertainty while maintaining the sense of security that had always been important to her. Most significantly, her daily planning sessions proved to herself that she was capable of managing complex logistics and making important decisions independently, building confidence that extended far beyond travel preparation. As June's travel plans became more concrete, she encountered an obstacle that could have derailed her newfound sense of adventure, her complete lack of familiarity with the technology that modern travel increasingly requires. Online booking systems, smartphone apps for navigation, and digital communication tools had been Harold's domain during their marriage, and June had been content to let him handle anything involving computers or cell phones. Now, as a solo traveler, she realized that embracing technology was not optional, but essential for the kind of independence and connection she wanted to achieve. This challenge led to June's second daily habit: embracing technology as a tool for connection and creativity. Rather than viewing it as an intimidating obstacle, she enrolled in basic computer classes at the local community center, where she learned to navigate websites, send emails, and use social media platforms. These skills opened up entirely new possibilities for her travel planning and documentation. She discovered travel planning websites that allowed her to compare prices and read reviews from other travelers, and she learned to use mapping applications that could guide her through unfamiliar cities with confidence. But June's relationship with technology evolved far beyond basic travel planning tools. Inspired by travel bloggers she discovered online, she decided to document her own adventures through videos and written posts. This decision required her to learn video editing software, understand social media algorithms, and develop skills in visual storytelling that she had never imagined needing. The learning curve was steep and sometimes frustrating, but June approached each new challenge with the same methodical persistence that had served her well in other areas of life. She practiced recording short videos in her own home, experimenting with lighting and camera angles until she felt comfortable with the basic mechanics of creating content. The technological skills June developed served multiple purposes beyond simple documentation. Creating travel content forced her to pay closer attention to her experiences, noticing details and moments that she might otherwise have overlooked. The process of editing videos and writing posts helped her process and reflect on her adventures, deepening her appreciation for each new experience. Most importantly, sharing her content online connected her to a community of fellow travelers who offered encouragement, advice, and companionship that enriched every aspect of her journey. Her willingness to embrace unfamiliar technology transformed her from a passive consumer of other people's travel stories into an active creator of content that inspired and informed others. The online community that grew around June's travel content became the foundation for her third daily habit, fostering meaningful social bonds that extend far beyond her immediate geographical area. What began as simple posts about her travel experiences evolved into genuine relationships, with people from around the world who shared her love of exploration and discovery. She began corresponding regularly with fellow travelers, exchanging recommendations, sharing challenges, and celebrating each other's adventures. These virtual relationships provided emotional support during difficult moments and amplified the joy of her positive experiences through shared enthusiasm and encouragement. But June's commitment to building meaningful relationships didn't remain limited to online interactions. She began organizing meetups with fellow travelers she had connected with through her digital platforms, turning virtual friendships into real-world encounters. These gatherings often took place in destinations that were new to all participants, creating shared adventures that strengthened their bonds and created lasting memories. June discovered that her age and experience were assets rather than liabilities in these social situations, as younger travelers often sought her advice and perspective while she benefited from their energy and technological expertise. The social connections June has cultivated through her travel adventures have transformed her understanding of friendship and community in later life. She has learned that meaningful relationships can develop at any age, and that shared interests and values are more important than geographical proximity or demographic similarity. Her travel companions range in age from their 20s to their 80s, representing diverse backgrounds, cultures, and life experiences that have broadened her perspective and challenged her assumptions about aging, adventure, and human connection. These relationships have provided her with a support network that extends far beyond her local community, offering encouragement and assistance that has made even the most ambitious travel plans feel achievable. The communities June has joined through her travel interests have also introduced her to new ways of thinking about aging and possibility. She has met people who began their most adventurous chapters in their 70s and 80s, challenging societal expectations about what constitutes appropriate behavior for seniors. These role models have given her permission to dream bigger and take greater risks, showing her that the limitations she had accepted as inevitable consequences of aging were often self-imposed rather than actual physical or practical constraints. Most importantly, her expanded social network has provided her with ongoing motivation to continue growing, learning, and exploring as she feels accountable to the community of people who follow her adventures and draw inspiration from her courage. June's 3 daily habits have created a lifestyle that balances careful planning with spontaneous adventure, technological engagement with human connection, and personal growth with service to others who share her interests. Her morning planning sessions provide structure and anticipation that energize her days, while her commitment to mastering new technologies keeps her mind sharp and her capabilities expanding. Her dedication to building and maintaining relationships with fellow travelers creates a supportive community that enhances every aspect of her adventures while providing motivation for continued exploration and growth. What makes June's transformation so remarkable is how completely it contradicts common assumptions about aging and adventure. Rather than becoming more cautious and homebound as she aged, she has become increasingly bold and exploratory. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by technological change, she has embraced it as a tool for connection and creativity. Rather than allowing widowhood to shrink her social world, she has used her newfound independence to build relationships that span continents and generations. Her story demonstrates that the later years of life can be a time of expansion rather than contraction, adventure rather than retreat, and connection rather than isolation. The key to June's success lies not in her specific choice to focus on travel, but in her willingness to challenge her own limiting beliefs and step boldly into unfamiliar territory. Her daily habits of planning new experiences, embracing technological Tools and fostering meaningful relationships could be adapted to countless other interests and circumstances. The underlying principles she has discovered about growth, learning, and connection in later life are universally applicable, regardless of whether someone's adventures take them around the world or simply outside their previous comfort zone in more modest ways. June's story shows us that happiness in our golden years often requires the courage to become someone we never imagined we could be, and that the daily habits we choose can either reinforce our limitations or expand our possibilities in ways that continue to surprise and delight us. Please like this video if these stories are inspiring you to think differently about what's possible in your own golden years. The stories of Lydia, Franklin, and June reveal a powerful truth about aging that challenges everything our culture tells us about growing older. These three remarkable individuals didn't stumble into happiness by accident or luck. Instead, they discovered that joy in later life comes from making intentional daily choices that honor both who they've been and who they're still becoming. Their experiences illuminate 9 specific habits that any of us can adopt, regardless of our circumstances, health, or resources. From Lydia's journey, we learned 3 essential practices that keep life vibrant and meaningful. First, she chose to stay connected with younger generations through her volunteer work at the library, proving that wisdom flows both ways across age groups and that we have something valuable to offer those who come after us. Second, she committed to continuously learning new skills by taking up piano, demonstrating that our brains remain capable of growth and that it's never too late to pursue dreams we've postponed. Third, she developed a practice of daily gratitude through journaling, showing us how reflection and appreciation can transform ordinary moments into sources of deep satisfaction and peace. Franklin's story revealed 3 different but equally powerful habits that ground us in purpose and community. His commitment to maintaining regular contact with nature through gardening connected him to something larger than himself, while providing the physical activity his body craved. His dedication to contributing to the community through service at the food cooperative gave him a sense of purpose and belonging that replaced the structure he had lost in retirement. His practice of moving his body mindfully each day through Tai Chi proved that caring for our physical and mental well-being creates the foundation for everything else we want to accomplish. June's transformation showed us 3 habits that expand our world rather than shrink it as we age. Her commitment to regularly seeking out new experiences through travel planning kept her curious and engaged with possibilities rather than limitations. Her willingness to use technology as a tool for connection and creativity proved that we can master new skills at any age when we approach them with patience and persistence. Her dedication to building and nurturing meaningful relationships beyond her local circles demonstrated that friendship and community can flourish in our later years when we're open to connection with others who share our interests and values. These 9 habits work together to create what truly happy seniors understand: that each day is an opportunity to choose growth over stagnation, connection over isolation, and possibility over resignation. They represent a comprehensive approach to aging that addresses every dimension of human flourishing. When you stay connected with younger generations, you tap into energy and fresh perspectives that keep your own spirit young. When you continuously learn new skills, you prove to yourself that your mind remains sharp and capable of expansion. When you practice daily gratitude, you train yourself to notice and appreciate the gifts that each day offers. When you maintain regular contact with nature, you ground yourself in rhythms and cycles that put daily concerns into proper perspective. When you contribute to your community through service, you discover that your experience and wisdom remain valuable and needed. When you move your body mindfully each day, you create the physical and mental foundation that supports all your other activities and aspirations. When you regularly seek out new experiences, you prove that adventure and discovery don't have expiration dates. When you use technology as a tool for connection and creativity, you stay current with the world around you while opening new avenues for expression and relationship. When you build and nurture meaningful relationships, you create the social connections that research consistently shows are essential for health, happiness, and longevity. The beauty of these 9 habits is that they don't require dramatic life changes or significant financial resources. They can be adapted to fit any lifestyle, health condition, or personal interest. You don't need to volunteer at a library like Lydia, but you can find ways to connect with younger people that feel authentic to your personality and circumstances. You don't need to learn piano like Lydia, but you can choose some new skill that challenges and excites you. You don't need to start a community garden like Franklin, but you can find ways to spend time in nature that nourish your soul. The specific activities matter less than the underlying principles they represent and the consistent daily practice that makes them powerful. The question now is not whether these habits work, but which ones you're ready to embrace in your own life. As you think about your current daily routine, which of these 9 practices could you incorporate starting today? What dreams have you postponed that deserve another chance? What connections have you neglected that could be renewed? What new skills have been calling to you? What ways of serving others align with your values and abilities? How can you make gratitude, movement, and growth as natural as breathing in your daily life? Your golden years are not a time to coast on past accomplishments or settle for diminished expectations. They are an invitation to become the fullest expression of who you've always been meant to be. The choice, as always, is yours to make. One day at a time, one habit at a time, one moment of intentional living at a time. If this message has inspired you to see new possibilities for your own life, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more wisdom and encouragement on living your most fulfilling years yet.